I'm Brooke. Thank you for joining us here at Aquatic Warehouse. Whether it be a saltwater reef or a freshwater planted aquarium, an algae problem can really take the fun out of our hobby. I mean, you got into this amazing hobby because you wanted to emulate a stunning coral reef in your house, not an underwater chia pet, right? We'll talk about reef tanks today. Of course, the idea is to get ahead of the problem before it happens, but that's probably not the reason you're watching this. First, let's address this misconception. A lot of people test their aquariums and come up with very good water quality readings, but still their tanks are loaded with all kinds of problematic algae. They incorrectly think everything they're doing is fine, so they set out and search for a quick fix remedy. Don't get lured into the snake oil products on the market. They're a band-aid at best and a reef ruiner at worst. Research has shown that the high nutrient levels can be locked up in the algae itself, in that the algae here is utilizing the nutrient as fast as it enters the water column. Also, the live rock and gravel can act like a sponge and absorb these nutrients. We're going to go through the steps and explain how to fix this problem. We know that the light plus nutrients equals algae, so the elimination of nutrients is our only option. Well, kinda. About the lights, just make believe that there is a storm at sea and turn off your lights for 4 days straight. Stay with me here, this is a proven technique. Cover your tank so no light can cause any photosynthesis from happening. Now is the time to check on these bulbs or the wrong levels of lights on your LEDs. Note here, do this after you've removed the nutrients from your tank, which we will talk about. Going back, remember that when you first bought your reef tank, you might have heard the term, strive for a nutrient-deficient environment. So this is what our goals are. In a reef, removing as much waste as possible via mechanical filtration and quality protein skimming will in turn reduce the intake of nitrates. Clean the skimmer cup daily and replace your filter floss or pad daily. We want a real clean running machine here to get a handle on this. Your goal is to have a reading of less than 0.02 milligrams using a quality nitrate test kit like Solifert, where 0.00 is best. Another thing that's proven to chelate or hold nitrates in your tanks is biological filtration. This is great in fish-only tanks, but for the most part, it doesn't belong in a reef aquarium because it will compete with the more efficient bacteria found on your live rock. Healthy live rock helps to remove nitrates by efficiently turning the nitrate into nitrogen gas and thus dissipating them right out of your aquarium. Whereas biological filters would do the opposite and hold it there, thus producing fertilizer for your problematic algae. The other part of the nutrient buildup problem is phosphates. Organic and inorganic phosphates are always accumulating in a reef. Within the first 3 to 5 months is when we should think seriously about an ongoing phosphate removal regimen. For small tanks, a phosphate pad like biomarine polyfilters or RoaPhos granular media placed in a fine filter bag like the bag from Seachem works great. Either of these can be placed into a filter and is an easy option. Or better yet, use a hang-on or inline phosphate reactor with again your goal of less than 0.02 milligrams of phosphates registered on a HANA test kit, which is regrettably the only accurate phosphate test kit we have found. Don't use too much. A small amount is better than too much. Test, don't guess. Removing too much phosphate can harm your corals. Now here's the work part. Perform water changes and you should be using RO or better yet DI water. It could take quite a few water changes, but nothing will get you the results faster. You could realistically do 25 to 30% a day until you're there. You don't want to stress your corals and or fish here, so use some restraint and don't go hog wild. Remember, anything you do with the reef should be gradual and you will be successful. This next part is not glamorous, but again, you have to do the work here. Siphon out as much algae as you can with some small 3x8 inch clear vinyl tubing. A lot of the nitrate and phosphate is in this algae, so let's just get rid of it, okay? A quick note about bryopses and cyanobacterial algae. These two are the walking dead of the reef industry. What I mean is that they come out of nowhere and don't react to what we just talked about in the same way as many other algae. You should always start an algae problem exporting nutrients first and foremost. Then you will have to be certain that you have indeed bryopses algae. Treatments are needed for this in the form of elevating your magnesium to 1500 to 1600 milligrams and keeping it there for 14 days or until the algae starts to die. Make sure you siphon out the dying debris. There have been many good results by raising your pH to over 8.5 in addition to adding to the before mentioned tank maintenance. Frustrating cyanobacterial algae can show up even in nutrient-poor reef tanks and are stimulated by changes like heat, high protein foods, and too much iodine or amino acid supplement. When I have had a cyano outbreak, I just scaled back on all my additives and kept my tank below 78 degrees, and after siphoning, it went away. There are medicated treatments to use if it's a last resort, but it's got to be pretty bad to go this unsure road. Finally, the feeding. Check out our video titled Aquatic Warehouse Feeding Aquarium Fish for key important subject matter relating to nutrient buildup. There are other things that you could add to your aquarium like refugiums or probiotic reactors and such. These are great long-term applicators, but not a fix that you need right now if you have a nasty algae bloom. One last thing, if you're using a calcium reactor or covering your aquarium, or if just a lot of heavy breathing is going on, your reef tank is susceptible to a CO2 buildup. And one thing plant lovers know is that algae just loves CO2. So aerate where your calcium reactor return line enters the water to blow off the CO2. In summary, test with an accurate test kit like Salifer for nitrates or HANA for phosphates and record your levels. Remember, no phosphates, no algae. Remove nutrients and add a phosphate removal regimen to your maintenance. If you can, physically remove the rock or corals and brush off the algae in a bowl of salt water so the algae won't float around in your tank. Do the water changes, get back on a small weekly water change, and you will reward yourself with a beautiful, pristine reef aquarium that will be healthier and more lush than ever before. Thank you for joining us at Aquatic Warehouse and letting us share with you this incredible hobby. Be sure to subscribe to the link below.